recording, and it's very exciting. John Lennon.
Already.
John Lennon is joining us, Fred. John Lennon's here.
Is he?
Look at his glasses. He's got,
my design eyewear, right?
It looks really cool, though. I like it, man.
Thank you. He's one of two pair coming in. What?
Is this something new?
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, and what made you go with the rounds?
Well, Lisa and I toured the experiences, and this is her pick.
What is that? Let's go. Hold on, if I may, Fred. When you say Lisa and I toured the experiences, do you mean went shopping?
No, it's just went a tour on the website that I bought them from.
See, Howard doesn't understand. He hasn't. What you do, Howard, is you take a picture of your face, you put it in the website, and then you can put all sorts of different glasses on your face, and you can decide that way. It's excellent. It's a great system. I
was confused because I have a long history with Daniel, where he will use a lot of different words that mean something simple. So I thought that was that. Oh, no, but that's
shopping online.
Shopping. So what you're saying is you went shopping online instead of toured the experiences.
Long, narrower faces look good with round glasses.
Oh, I had no idea you were the ophthalmological expert. I had no...
No.
I should consult with you more.
Yeah, really, because
I put a couple of rounds on me and it just doesn't work. It just looks like two big round circles on a big round head. So
I have a weird, I don't know if it's ability, but not so much when it comes to glasses, because these are just reading glasses, but I have rarely found a pair of sunglasses that I don't like the way they look on me. I'm not saying they look great. What I'm saying is I like the way most sunglasses look on me. I just seem to have different kinds,
So when you black out your eyes, you look your best.
Well, that's when 1/3 of my face has gone dark. I don't mind what I look like. That's very funny, Daniel. That's right, John. That's very good, John.
You should get.
Really, what I should wear, Dan, is a welder's mask.
Right? Yeah. I like myself so much.
That's what I really want. I want a welder's mask to cover up most of it.
When you first were doing the John Lennon accent, I didn't notice the glasses, so I thought you were pretending to be John. So when you said, "Oh, John's here," and I said, "When?" Because
he's dead. Yeah, I get it.
No, because the accent. You do some great accents, but your John Lennon might not be the best one.
Right? Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you. I know you're being a sarcastic prick, but I was just doing this sort of typical Liverpudlian accent, because as soon as Dan came on the Zoom, I was like, "Oh, Dan, that looks great. It looks very Lennon-esque. It's very nice on your beautiful face."
Isn't it funny when he first sat down this morning and his hair is combed and everything, and I thought, well, he's a striking man to begin with, but it was enhanced by those glasses this morning without me even noticing it, and that's exactly what you want, right? This is exactly what you want.
Thank you,
and
Fred.
Howard, as far as you're concerned, you should see these glasses I'm wearing. They're transitionals, where you go outside and they immediately become sunglasses. If you love yourself so much in sunglasses...
Yeah, I should just wear them all the time.
No, well, you should get these transitionals. As soon as you go outside, they become sunglasses. So you're not on and off and on and off.
On and off and on and offer.
Yeah.
Offer and honor. Your honor.
Hardly knew her.
What's that, Fred?
She offered her honor. He honored her offer. And all through the night, it was honor and offer.
Well, listen,
that's only 45-year-old part of the show.
I know. Listen, Dan, whatever the bottom line is, you look great. So let's get you to start this show.
This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is being broadcast to the world from the state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a beautiful seasonal lighting display, and from Peterborough at Lisa's dining room table next to a sparkly fake Christmas tree. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Jamie Sobel Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now, here are two men who have polarizing views on Christmas turkey. That has Big Turkey gobbling and deploying Turk Team 6 to peck down their doors with assault drumsticks. It's No Turkey for Me, Humble and Fred.
And Dan Duran, thank you very much. Our good friend Jeff Lumby will join us today. Jeff and Julie moved to France in a global pandemic. That's the show that we support here at Humble and Fred Productions. And another program that we really enjoy, our friend Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Homes. He's got a podcast as well, and he's appearing on our podcast every couple of weeks because it's good business, friends. It's good business.
Dying is good business. Yep.
So Dan's glasses are cool. I should probably wear a hood. You've got transitions. I think we've covered the spectacles.
Yeah, there's these glasses are transitions, and what's the other word when you look at different areas of the glasses? That's
progressive.
Progressive, yes.
Yeah.
They're both.
So you need, but you have both of you guys have a prescription for glasses. I do not. I only wear glasses for reading, and then during the show, because of course I'm reading all the time. There's nothing.
Yeah, but you've
reading.
had a prescription for glasses before.
Never, man.
Never.
Oh,
I'm surprised at that.
Have you visited an optometrist?
In my life, yeah. I see perfectly lovely, except up close. Never had a prescription for glasses.
Yeah, when was the last time you went? Like, you go yearly then, right?
Probably in less... No, I don't know. You know what? Let's just leave you alone for today. You know what, Dan? I haven't had a visit probably in the last couple of years. I was going to say something about probably in less time than you've had a colonoscopy, but you know what? I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting how Dan prioritizes. I mean, obviously, because seeing is seeing and you need to see, but he's all over the eye thing, but he has no consideration for his colon. It's weird.
You know, it's eyes, and Dan Duran has a bumper sticker that says eyes over anuses. So, but I don't want to get into another Dan Duran. What about Dan? Why won't he get a colonoscopy?
Howard, I will say this. Given your age, you can go and get a free eye test, even if it's a small prescription. Then go on one of the sites that Dan has been on or I've been on.
Honor offer.
And for inside $200, you could get yourself some progressives, and you could have glasses that are cool for walking around and seeing things up close, and act as sunglasses. Figure it out.
Well, first of all, thank you for this. I really should have my eyes checked, but I can tell you from anecdotally, I should say, I have no trouble seeing other than to read up close. Guys, we got other things to talk. Guys,
you have a problem seeing up close.
I don't have
one last point. Be like Bob McCowan and always wear sunglasses. Always.
Yeah, I should. Or ski goggles that are darkened. That'll be the look. Right. We got lots of stuff to get through. It's only Tuesday. This is our last four-banger before we split for the holidays. You're going to hear us next Monday from a show that we will record on Sunday. Still lots of room left. Well, I'm getting less and less all the time. Special appearances by Greg Wired, Lisa McEwen, and Fred Ball. Did you see that note, or did he just send it to me?
You know what? He sent it to me, and I completely forgot about it. Have you been in negotiation with Fred?
Well, I think he's offended because he said, hey, he goes, hey, Howard, Fred here, and I've got a great story I've never told, another Fred on Fred. It's 10 minutes. I'm like, hey, sounds great. Maybe it could be less than 10 minutes, though. I said, maybe
and
pare
what did
it
he
down.
Say?
No response. I think he's offended.
Well, I'm sure he's listening right now. Maybe he'll check, and I'll keep looking at my phone. Honestly, I got that one day, and I think I was in a grocery store, and then I forgot about it, actually. So, Fred, don't be offended. I just forgot about it.
Well, and Fred, don't be offended. 10 minutes is, a good chunk of time to tell one story. maybe you could pare it down. Fred, for people who don't know, Fred's a good friend of Fred's. Fred Ball is a nice man. Him and his wife, I've known them for years. They're just lovely people. Nancy's a sweet angel. But Fred has been telling stories about Fred. We call it Fred on Fred. And this is what we're going to do this Sunday. Another reason to check us out at Kelsey's. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. There's going to be prizes. Ask Humble and Fred trivia, and Fred on Fred.
I just got a message. I can do less than 10 minutes.
How about a lot? Could you do it a lot less than 10 minutes?
Well, how about 5? Yeah, surely, Fred, you can do 5.
Well, here's what 10 minutes is. We've been talking now, the three of us, for 10 minutes. It's a good long time.
And you got to remember, in that environment, it's hard to transfer. It's not like... You know what I mean? It's not like doing this show where people are listening intensely to the podcast. Ultimately, they will, but I'm saying for the people in the room, that will be tough. It just will.
When I first came back to doing stand-up in 2016, I started doing a lot in Toronto, and I was trying to get stage time wherever I could. I went up to Barrie a bunch of times, and I did some shows in the Barrie area. And then later, after I got my legs back underneath me, I did a couple of big shows. And I want to say that every time I was up there, like where I would just never expect to see anyone I knew, Fred and Nancy showed up to come to see me. And it was very sweet. They're very supportive. And at least a couple times, both Fred and Nancy came to shows. Like I'm talking about like where they converted a bar for the night, or like these weren't like stand-up clubs. But sure enough, they came in. It was very, very sweet. And it was always nice to see a friendly face. How about
Whatever
that, Fred? What do you think of that?
I think it's great.
No, I'm talking about Fred Ball. I want to know what Fred thinks.
Oh, okay. Well, he'll think it's wonderful because it's true. I went to one up there. Whatever happened to your comic friend who used to tell the story about having sex with the mattress or whatever that story is? Remember?
I don't know. I'm not sure he's doing stand-up anymore, but no, he's a very nice man.
Oh, no, he is.
Everyone, you know what? Today, everybody's nice. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about today that we haven't gotten to or we should get to. Here's a little fun Canadian politics. We had our finance minister resign yesterday, and it's funny. Is it funny or is it interesting when? Like, I know most people have a bit of a stink on about Trudeau, and maybe I do to a lesser or greater degree. But when I hear, it's like this, it's like you can make fun of yourself or your friends, but when somebody you don't like makes fun of it, it bugs you. Like Trump still tweeting about our country being the 51st state and our prime minister being a governor, I find it irksome, even though... Like, it's one thing for us to... I guess my point is, it's one thing for us to criticize Trudeau. But when Trump, who's continuing this bit, by the way... You want to talk about a bit that won't go away. It's posted yesterday about the resignation of our finance minister. Trump posts, the great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns, or was fired, from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. And he goes on to talk about her behavior being toxic, blah, blah, blah. She will not be missed. So no matter what you think in this country about him or her or whatever's going on in our government, does it not bother you that fuck tit is doing this?
Fuck tit. That's great.
Yeah. Well, Dan, if you want to go first, you go first.
I totally feel exactly the way you do, Howard. I have all kinds of problems with Trudeau at this point. Like this whole GST vacation thing seems kind of weird to me. But I don't think that it's Donald Trump's place to get into our, name calling our politicians. Even if it was a politician I hated, I still wouldn't want that kind of action going on from down there, especially the leader of the free friggin' world.
It's just juvenile is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, it's really inappropriate. And what bothers me about it is, and again, most Americans don't even care. Most Americans probably think it is a state. You know what I mean? The way they're tuned in. It just bugs me, the Canadians that are making excuses for Trump, and you can see it all over the place, like even the Toronto Sun. that piece of shit, that shit stain. It's like, they play it like Trump's just poking fun, having fun with Canada. Well, no, that's really inappropriate. And I think any Canadian with any level of patriotism should be offended by that, because there's a certain decorum. A joke's a joke, but not that when it comes to your country. Because it's showing a lot of disrespect, and it doesn't bother you that your country's being disrespected by a sex offender? Like, seriously.
Well, that's kind of in my ham-fisted way, whatever, is awkward trying to describe. It's one thing, like, it's one thing for, you guys to make fun of me or us to make fun of Dan or each other. You must be giving each other shots. It's different when outside people do it that are not part of your group. And that's kind of what like the first time he did it, you're like, okay, that's, again, he's a fucking asshole, but fine. But now he's continuing this bit. And it's disrespectful, and whatever no matter, and you put it perfectly. It's what I was trying to say. No matter what you think of Justin Trudeau, hearing Donald Trump give us shots, because it's not just Trudeau, it's us, and how little he thinks of us. Like, fuck that guy.
Well, and that's it. He could, they could be maple syrup jokes or hockey jokes. We get it. You know what I mean? Okay, but this is different. And it's just not right, and it's unsettling, given his power and his position. It's a place he should not go. And again, he can do that all he wants. What bothers me more is how Canadians, who have drank the Kool-Aid and been sucked in by this con man, are making excuses for, it's not that big a deal, he's just kidding, because now they're in a position, they bought in on this guy. And even yesterday now he's talking about, remember he said he would end that war in Ukraine in 24 hours? Well, yesterday now he's saying, it's a little more complicated than people might expect.
Yeah,
so
really?
You're going to see all this recoil and all this retraction now. So a year from now, when we're going down the list going, what about this, what about that? You want to talk to these people that are all in on him now and see what they say. And this is just another thing. You can't find that acceptable, this governor stuff and state stuff, and call yourself a Canadian. I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the post. So where I found this was on X or Twitter, and somebody I follow that I really like is a smart kid. A smart guy, actually. So some of the reaction is what you say. It's like Canadians going, yeah, Trump, whatever. But most of it is this. Here's a perfect example. This from an American. This is so inappropriate for a future president of this country. Such disrespectful, nasty behavior toward our closest, strongest ally. What a fucking criminal oaf Trump is. And if that's not your reaction, something's wrong with you. And I hadn't even considered the Canadians that are all excited that Trump's even, like, they're excited that Trump, who they think of as a celebrity, is even talking about their country. And of course they hate Trudeau. And that's why I started by saying, no matter what you think about the prime minister of this country, it doesn't matter. It's disrespectful and inappropriate for the president of the world to be referring to our prime minister as the governor of Canada.
And for all those reasons, because of the power they wield, over us in so many ways, they do. No getting around it. So for him to say those things, it's a bit unsettling. And again, inappropriate. And I don't see how anyone, like even those who, Canadian Trumpers, of which there are many, are so far in on it now that you're finding excuses for the guy. There's nothing wrong with saying, I like Donald Trump, but that's inappropriate. Or, I like Donald Trump, but I wish he would stop because it's degrading to our country. There doesn't seem to be any of that. It's all or nothing, and it's sickening.
Yeah, the sort of self-actualization of a person only comes when they can admit the things about themselves that need to be recognized. As much as we, are all, you and I are jokesters and we like to, poke holes and dick around with Dan, and Dan is a sweet guy, but we're all the three of us all capable of having self-reflection to the point where when it's appropriate, we will apologize. Recognizing when you've done wrong is part of the evolution of a human being. He has none of that. there, and that's part of the reason that he's so despicable is because there's no self-realized, there's no self-referential. Again, maybe I'm not explaining it well.
And it just really underlines and highlights the stupidity of so many Canadians, because just know, people, if you're the average Canadian, you're way better off in this country than you are in that country. There's no doubt that the United States of America, if you have money and you have power, it might be the place for you for several reasons. But if you're Joe Average, you're way better off here than you are there.
Yeah.
But so many don't realize it.
Yeah, they don't know it.
You know what they do? They go to Florida for a week and I want to live like this. This is the way I want to live. You know what I mean? And then that becomes the thing. I want to live in Florida because I was there for a week and beer was $2.50 in a bucket or some fucking thing like that. Like, anyway. It's very, very. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Actually.
So I wanted to just have a quick discussion about that. And again, whatever's going on with our government, and calling for the resignation of the prime minister, and the fact that our finance minister was supposed to bring forward a fall finance report and resigned. It's a big deal. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on. Trudeau is not. I mean, even Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP, who has basically helped prop up this government, is starting to withdraw support. All of this is leading to him either resigning or there has to be an election in the fall of 2025. Does there not?
I believe that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's
time to go.
It's time to go, and we've all said that. And whether you had hope for Trudeau 10 years ago and now you think fuck him, all of that's fine. It's cyclical, but it takes nothing away from the fact that, again, call him the drama teacher, say whatever you say, he's a twit or whatever, but he's been the prime minister of the country for 10 years. He's the prime minister now, and I'm irked by the fact that somebody's taking shots at him, that somebody being the orange, fuckface.
Yeah. Which is disrespectful. By the way, do you think that that Trump called him the governor of Canada because he didn't know, it was like unintentional, like he's just an idiot? Or do you think that was purposeful, just to not?
Here's what I think, Dan. I think he did it, tweeted it, got a reaction from some of his minions, and because like everything else, if you think about the nicknames that Trump has been sticking with, Lion this, Shifty Shift, all the nicknames, like a fucking 5-year-old, once he gets one, he just keeps doing it because he thinks he's feeling like, hey, this is funny, I'm provocative. Like, it really is. It's bizarre is what it is.
Yeah, and it is. And now we're in this situation. It's almost delicious. Let's see what he does now. January 20th, he'll take over. So let's see what the magic man is going to do with this 4 years that he didn't do in the first 4 years, because so much of that was a myth. And let's see where it takes us. And we're really in this weird situation where you actually need him to do well for the benefit of Canadians as well. So, but what if he doesn't, because there's a very good chance he won't, because he's a madman. Like look at his cabinet. Look at the people that he's put in positions that are unqualified and shouldn't be there. And what good can come of that?
Well, it's humorous about
we'll see.
He was supposed to solve the Ukraine war within 24 hours. Like last week, again, we haven't talked about him for a while, but last week he was at a press conference. He's being asked about, he's going to bring the price of groceries down, and now he's going, that's actually tough. He's like,
once they're there, it's hard to bring them back.
Like it's all just so typical.
I know
this great savior.
And getting back to Canadians who actually bought in on that, like when he would say things like that to Americans, they actually thought he was saying it to them too. It's crazy. One other thing I will say about Donald Trump too, he shows no respect to Justin Trudeau, but he's always respectful to Putin. And
I know, it's crazy.
And Putin last week gave refuge to Assad, who actually turned on his own people, crushed his own people, murdered his own people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's Trump's guy.
Committed all these war crimes. So Putin opened the door and said, come on and live here. And that is who Trump respects.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, people. Like
in the report, I'm not sure if this was in the report or I read it around the report. They had forecasted a certain amount of deficit for our country, and they missed that forecast by just a tiny bit, $26 billion. So the federal deficit for the that period is something like, I think it was $60 billion. It was only supposed to be $40 billion.
Yeah, $61 billion. Like they're off by about 30 some odd percent. But again, part of the reason, just on that point, Freeland resigned because she was totally dead against what she called this gimmick thing with the GST and the $250 gimmick. That's why he needs to go. It was a desperate thing to give Canadians something so they'd feel good about him. And when she, as federal finance minister, said this is madness. And there's the result. Yeah. $61 billion.
Also on finance, the Bank of Canada is reconsidering its 2% inflation target starting in the new year, according to this Globe and Mail story. The central bank will reassess whether its annual inflation rate target is still applicable. Since the Bank of Canada last reviewed its mandate, we're grappling. That's right, we have grappled with surging inflation that hit a 40-year high in 2022, and where I think we're all aware, like we're holding at 2%, as I said in the story, but they're not sure they can keep it there. Why I wanted to bring this up, because I knew we were going to talk a little bit of finances. Do you know who the name? Do you know the name of the governor of the Bank of Canada?
No.
I saw this last week, and I was going to bring it up with you guys because it is really all you need to know about the guy who's running the Bank of Canada is that his name is Tiff Macklem. First name Tiff, last name Macklem.
Is that a nickname, do you think?
Jeez. I hope that the guy who is in charge of the Bank of Canada isn't going by, his name is like Clarence Tiff in quotation marks Macklem. No, I think it's a white guy name, Tiff Macklem.
Wow.
I could not. Listen, if I hadn't read that last week, I couldn't have told you who the Bank of Canada governor was if you tortured me.
It used to be Carney, right? A long time ago.
Art Carney.
Yeah. Art Carney.
Mark Carney, who is, I think was being considered to replace Christina Freeland.
You know what they said, that last month or whatever it was, the last inflation report? See what they blame some of it on?
No.
Taylor Swift. Hotel prices and a lot of, in Vancouver, Toronto. The cost of, I guess, hotel rooms and whatever. But however the inflationary thing is formulated, they put they actually cited that as part of it. Howard's talking to somebody.
No, I'm talking to Spencer just because we're just trying to find where the diarrhea dogs are. That's what I got. Diarrhea dogs. I am going to take her to the vet today. Sorry, Freddie. I just had to explain to Spencer why I...
No, I'm saying they're citing Taylor Swift as a reason for a little bump in the inflation rate. I don't know how valid that could be, or if that's true, but why not? If in major cities in Canada, hotel prices went way up, and who knows if restaurants bump prices, whatever the fallout is.
No, yeah, I know. We had talked about the amount of money she was, what economic impact she had on every city she went to. But I guess it would make sense. Can you guys not hear that dog barking constantly?
Yes, we can, Howard.
Yeah, we're just ignoring it.
Well, I've had Charlie's dog for a few days. It's a sweet little puppy, but for some reason it's gotten sick now. Last night she woke up at 11:30, woke me up. And then at about 1, woke me up again, barking in the bed, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I picked her up and I took her down to the Dan Duran bathroom on that floor, the Dan Duran floor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had a little blanket in there and some water, so I put her in there, and she was fine for the rest of the night, I guess. And I went in this morning, and I was just telling Spencer, I went into that bathroom, and she had diarrhea all over the floor again.
Diarrhea.
Mm. Diarrhea, let him go. So, yes, so I had Stan with the diarrhea last week. This dog's here. This is diarrhea, the diarrhea destiny.
Is there any chance that Billy, Charlie's dog, ate some of Stan's poo when he wasn't feeling well? Because dogs like to do that.
Great question. Great question. Fred Patterson, Humble and Fred Show. No, there was no there was no Stan diarrhea by the time Billy got here. And by the way, just to Dan, you've been in my house probably more than most people over the 8 years I've lived here. You know how when you walk in from the garage and you start going upstairs, how there's all those dark stains that look like somebody dragged a dead body up the stairs?
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, and I said to Freddie before we started the show, I don't know what I was thinking, and I'm, maybe I'm just dumb, but for the first time in 8 years, I had the carpets cleaned in this house.
Yeah.
And every stain that you've ever seen in my home is gone. It's unbelievable.
Holy cow,
Dan!
That's fantastic.
It's like it never happened. I know, it's crazy. Just a really, really good job these kids did. It was, a few $100. It was worth it. They did from top to bottom every carpeted surface in my house, including a disinfectant, like a dog. They have an extra treatment they can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the way that house is designed, that's the first impression, is those stairs. Which, means something. So now that it's nice and clean and attractive to look at, it's a good first impression.
Well, the impression before looked like that a murder had taken place. It just but I'm into so now dog people, I'm going to say I didn't go to the vet yesterday with her because I thought, 24 hours, I won't give her any food, I'll see how she does. Gave her a little rice last night in a bowl and a little bit of boiled chicken, and she was fine during the day yesterday. She seemed herself, and she was sitting on my lap when I was doing some work. But as the evening wore on, I think after she ate, she started shaking, like that little thing where you can just tell that dogs are uncomfortable. She can't settle. And so I'm going to take her to the vet today because sort of now we're into day 3 of her not feeling well, and I don't know what else to do. I mean, Charlie, my daughter's beside herself. She's like a worried mom. She's where she's away snowboarding, and so she was texting me a bunch yesterday. She's worried about her baby, but we'll see.
Yeah, dogs can get little viruses, I guess. A couple of weeks ago, Danny's dog, my boy, went through the same thing, a gastro thing. So remember to take your checkbook.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned to my daughter, as I mentioned to my daughter, I said, "Honey, I'm going to take care of it, but you're going to take care of it, right?"
Yeah. I don't think you can tap that.
Mm-hmm. No,
that's right. It'll be beyond the tap limit.
No, that's great. Yeah, this is going to be beyond tapping. Anyway, I got to do it because, as you can tell, she's not well.
Well, one good thing that came through out of the financial or the economic statement or whatever yesterday, they wanted to throw some good news in. So Terry Fox will be on the $5 bill, which is good. This is the movement to replace, royalty, so to speak, with Canadians on money. It started with Viola Desmond on the 10. So Terry will be on the 5. Laurier moves to the 50. William Lyon Mackenzie seems to be out. Yeah. So that's good. It's good to see Canadians on our money, and Terry Fox, very worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I there's another little aspect of the story. Did you see in the version that you're looking at how much money the Terry Fox runs have raised over the years?
No.
$900 million.
Almost $1 billion. Wow. 900
over the years. The runs have raised $900 million for cancer research, which makes him more than a worthy choice for this honor. The thing is, though, so he's going on the 5. Willie or Tiff Laurier is. So Sir Wilfrid Laurier is going over to the 50. All of it, though, funny that Dan just said the tap limit. I don't know. I have no cash on me anytime. I have a $5 bill in my car.
Right.
I have a $5 bill and a couple of coins in the middle thing there, in the middle of the glove compartment. But I've got no folding money or coins on me at this point. Do any of you? Like sitting here now.
And I do, but only very rarely do I. Because I was at the hockey rink and I went to a money machine because I wanted to buy the kids something and I needed cash. So
you have cash on you right now sitting here?
Yeah, I think I got like
Dan?
$25.
I have not had cash in my wallet for months, but I went there yesterday because I had a cash transaction. I had my hair cut, and I usually pay cash with that. So that was yesterday. So I have $70 left.
The only reason I have cash on me, I mean, in my glove compartment even, is that I paid this thing in cash yesterday, the cleaning.
Yeah.
But mostly, and that's when I read the story about Terry Fox on the 5, I thought, that's great. Yet, most Canadians, I think, are like we are, which is you're not walking around with I don't have a lot of 5s on me at any given moment.
Well, that's the way. There's no longer a $500. There's no longer a $1,000 bill. They actually used to exist. And I don't know if you worked hard, you could find one, but it's for that reason. Most large transactions now are done electronically. So why would you need those bills? But they're putting Charles on the coins, I think, which bugs me. Like, why? What a great time to transition from that. But
that's not going to happen right now.
What?
They're not going to.
Oh no, I wish that. Yeah, but I think it's a good time. But they're not, and he's replacing his mama on the coins.
I'm not sure if we're going to. I'm going to get into a little bit of this story about how we drive with Lumby, but I'll bring it back a little bit with Dan when you come back. Jeff's coming up in a second. We got a little bit of business to take care of. Dan, will you be able to do the news today, or is there some theater guild? Something pressing with the guild.
Can't go too long today. I've got stuff going on. A big day at the guild.
What's going? Is this your new job? You should tell
over your life.
Yeah,
it's just,
you're at the guild every day, Dan.
Well, it's all built up, and then there's going to be less stuff going on. But there's a production coming up that is going to be using our projectors. So we're installing one of the projectors for the first time ever. We've got a brand new $25,000 projector, and that's going up today. And there's another projector that's so we're getting ready for this production. It's called Silent Sky. That we're using both of those, and also we got a little more new furniture coming in, and we got some repair guys coming in. So it's I put it all in one day, so it's a big day today, and then don't have to worry about it through Christmas. Just so you know. Thanks for asking.
Dan, I hope they acknowledge you on some level for your contributions, your time, because I think I can speak for my friend Howard. If that was me, I'd be there today going, they ain't fucking paying me for this. Why am I doing this? I keep asking why am I doing would be...
I agree, and Lisa says the same thing. But here's the thing.
Really? Oh,
yeah, she does. She, it's a full-time, non-paid job.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? If it was just fixing furnaces and making sure ship paint was fixed, I wouldn't care about it. But I feel like I can make a difference, bring it from where it was, which
You're
is
a difference maker.
That's right,
a difference maker,
making a difference, one Dan at a time.
And I believe in the cause. I mean,
Dan, we believe in you.
People love.
Do you?
People love.
You're a believer.
It's a way. Okay. It's a way of bringing people up who are interested in that side of things, on the art side. So, it gives them an outlet. A big one here in Peterborough. Anyway.
You're a very nice man, Dan. Come on back with the news. We got a bit of business to take care of, and then Jeff Lumby will join us. I'm just going to send him a note here. Stand by. On Sunday, December 22nd, we got a bunch of people hanging out with us at Kelsey's in Burlington. Kelsey's is the place to be. Bring your friends and family to the Burlington North location. Happy hour is every day, twice a day, 3 to 5, 8 to close, $5 drinks, $10 for the appetizers. There's a wing night every Thursday, as you know, half-price wings and $6 Coors. And we're going to be giving away, as I mentioned, some prizes. $50 Kelsey's gift cards. and 1 free Wings for a Year card. It's going to be really, really fun, and we hope you'll join us. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com is how you get a hold of us, and we would love to see you. We're going to have some food, some fun, some friends, all part of Humble and Fred's continual gift of Christmas, 2024, kelseys.ca for more details, or email us, humbleandfred at humbleandfredradio.com. Frederick.
Speaking of gifts for Christmas, I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. What a great time to become part of the Chambers Plan. Wouldn't that be a lovely gift for your employees? I think so. To be part of a benefits package in your small business. Excuse me for a second. Sorry for that pause.
Yeah, that's all right. Take your time.
Yes, to be part of the Chamber Plan would be a great gesture to your employees. Go to chamberplan.ca today, get a free quote. The badge is right there. Prescriptions and dental and all sorts of therapies and the teledoc system. They have a mental health component, very valuable, through COVID, of course. But during the holiday season, a lot of people struggle. And, there's a line you can call through the Chamber Plan and get some support. It's fantastic. It really, really is. They got it all covered at the Chamber Plan, chamberplan.ca.
All right. Making his regular appearance, here he is, the host of Jeff and Julie Moved to France in a Global Pandemic. You may know him from screen, stage, from radio. Was a legendary host of many radio programs around the Southern Ontario region. It's Jeff Lumby, everybody. Jeff Lumby.
Well, good morning and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to the both of you.
Jeffrey.
Boy, thank you.
It's great to talk to you. I don't get to talk to you enough, only once a week.
Twice this week. That's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Probably enough. That's probably enough.
It's you know what? There's a point.
Yeah.
There's a sweet spot, and
and it goes south.
That's right. Then it gets a bit prickly. So Jeff and I had talked about what we might talk about today, and I said to him, we were sort of having this discussion about our favorite Christmas tunes, and a couple things about working in the business, like all three of us have. And I can't remember if you answered this question or if I even asked it. Have you ever worked an all-Christmas radio station?
I think I did when I was, before I got the job with Angie out in Kitchener there to do mornings, I was doing just weekend sort of swing at Chime. And holy cow, they sure know how to start Christmas right after Halloween. So, yeah,
That's right.
I was pretty sick of it. But that's where I learned of my new favorite Christmas song was when I was there playing it.
And what is that?
It's my new, of the modern age, because a lot of this stuff dates way back. Obviously, I love the Christmas song with Nat King Cole. It's my favorite sort of classic, chestnuts roasting under the open fire, that one.
Yeah. But the thing about Christmas music is there's 1,000 versions of 100 songs.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said with Nat King Cole, because there are 8 million people doing that song. But no, the song that I really like at Christmas time is Driving Home for Christmas by Chris Rea.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. I love that.
That's a nice bouncy song I know that song.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it.
It's sort of in the vein of Paul McCartney's song, which, I love, but geez, how many times can we hear that one?
Love McCartney, but I've heard that song enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, I like this guy, Chris Rea.
Yeah.
Remember, what was his big hit, Fool If You Think It's Over?
Yeah, Fool If You Think It's Over, and he had a couple of real close hits.
Yeah, that McCartney song is a bit... If it was done by anybody else but McCartney, it would be a bit cheesy, the Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time.
And the Lennon one is different. I haven't heard it too much.
What's Happy Christmas, War is Over? Yeah. I don't mind that song. Mm-hmm. But you're right. But that's really the problem with working in all, and I said this to the audience last week, Jeff. I was saying, I've worked at Easy Rock a couple years. We did a month of Christmas songs, and it's not that it's not that they're bad songs. It's just that they're the same songs by different artists over and over again.
And even at that, the universe is very small compared to what you would normally play on a radio station.
Absolutely. The rotation is so different.
And it's interesting about the rotation. So because there are so many artists doing the same song, that has to be factored in to the rotation. Otherwise, you could get two chestnuts in a row.
That's right, by different
one
people.
From Karen Carpenter and one from Nat King Cole or something. So
it's like, here's Mel Torme, and now here's Boney M doing Mel Torme. And it's interesting you chose this song because I wanted to talk about driving, and this is a thing I found on my prep a couple of days ago about Canadians' driving habits. And the bottom line is, and I thought this is one of the things we've never really talked to you about when it comes to living where you live in France. But first, the Canadian story. It turns out that 50% of Canadians say they regularly speed on highways. 70% admit to occasionally speeding in residential neighborhoods. And so to start with, I mean, we're here on the 401 series or the 400 series of highways. Everybody all the time is speeding. It's rare when anyone's actually doing the speed limit. Would you not agree?
I find I think it's rare that anyone's ever even doing the speed limit. There's so much traffic. You're in congestion.
Yes,
there's that.
There's that. But whatever the speed limits are,
say 407.
Yeah, whatever that is supposed to be, nobody's doing it.
$1.20 for me.
Absolutely. That's kind of standard. That's what I was going to say. I think most of us are kind of going around. It's only when you see somebody who passes you when you're doing 130, you're thinking, well, that guy's going a bit fast.
The expressway here in France is 130. That's the speed.
Yeah.
I
would east too here in Canada. A few of the Trans-Canada sections is 110 now, which is, not bad. But yeah, 100 seems a bit slow.
It seems antiquated. And
it does, yes.
And so you're talking about the expressway around your village, where you're sort of locally, Jeff. Mm-hmm. What is the driving like? Are people good drivers?
Well, here's the thing that I would tell you. I used to love driving, and I used to love going on driving holidays. Most of them would be in the States, go to a baseball park or something like that. When I moved to Ontario, I just started dreading driving, and mainly because of the congestion, the amount of, as they call it here, circulation, the traffic, just going in and out of Toronto. It used to just be the bane of my existence. Moving here, I have a rebirth love of driving. It's fantastic. First of all the roads are windy and narrow and hilly, and they're just a pleasure to drive. There is almost zero traffic, and even though the speed limit is 80, you couldn't really go a lot quicker on these roads because there are so many turns, and I just love it now. I really enjoy driving again.
When you took us to the airport, so we were at your place a couple years ago, and you drove us, I think it was about a 90-minute drive to Toulouse.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was really cool. And you're right. Very windy, very, what you would think of as typical French countryside, just rolling hills and windy roads. And
yeah, we're going on one tomorrow. We have another podcast coming on Friday. We took the week off last week because there's not much going on. But we're going to do a 90-minute drive to a town that has apparently the nicest Christmas market in the region. And so we'll go there. We'll take some pictures. I'm taking my skates. They have an outdoor rink.
Nice.
Haven't skated in 7 years or something. And then we'll have lunch and come home. But the drive is half the fun. It's really lovely,
Yeah. And Howard, when you talk about speeding, what is speeding off highway? Kennedy Road here where I'm at is 60. Well, I'm always doing 70. You know what I mean? Or more. Or, the side streets are maybe 30. You're probably doing 40. So what is speeding, when you feel like you're not really in control or something?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, in the residential, I live I live on a busy street. Right behind me is a very quiet neighborhood, and there's a school a few blocks away, and they've set up one of those LED readouts that tell you how fast you're going.
Right.
And I'm pretty mindful around that, but you can see people, you're only supposed to go 40 in a school zone. But you see the things start to flash and you're going 50 or 60 because it's a main road around that school.
Right. Well, the main feeder street to my street here, they've just put speed bumps in, and those, and they're not very good ones. They're sort of short and high, and they're They're very, very aggravating, and that seems to be the response to speeding on the side streets in a lot of areas now.
I got a funny story about speed bumps. When we were in Oakville, we were the sort of feeder street to Appleby College down there by Lakeshore. And these people dropping off their kids, men and women, would come bombing down this street if they're running late. So we wanted to ask the town to put speed bumps in that road. And you know who we got opposition from in terms of the neighbors? Yeah, and it was probably enough to tilt the scales against getting the speed bumps. We had some elderly neighbors, and they were wonderful people, but they did not want anything to possibly hamper emergency services from getting to their house.
And they thought speed, it would slow down an ambulance too, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, I've never thought about that aspect of it. Wow, that's true.
Yeah, it was just the most bizarre, like just out of left field.
Because if it's a stretch of road and there's like 3 or 4 speed bumps, that would really slow down an emergency vehicle, come to think of it.
Well, now all 3 of us are at the age where we have to consider, do I want to live on a speed bump street? And part of what I picked this out, the stat about speeding and driving and Canadians who we all go faster than we're supposed to. And I was just thinking about this, about Jeff's appearance, and I was going to hold this over and maybe ask Dan when he comes back. Do you guys think, because we're all in our 60s, and it's been 50 years since we got our driver's license or so, do you think you could pass your driver's test now?
I could pass it, the physical part. I don't know about all the rules.
Well, that's what I mean. But even the physical part.
I can parallel park blindfolded.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why I think. Here's why I think it would be hard. But first, Fred, do you think you could pass your driver's exam, your road
That's a great
test?
Question.
My mom's passing it every year. What are you talking about? Of course I can pass
I'm asking if you could, not Miss Helen, who's probably very, very fastidious and not breaking all the rules that we do.
I think so. Because I think the things that they try and catch you on, I think I'm still pretty much aware of. I think I could.
Here's where I think they would get us. Like, parallel parking, all the physical aspects. But things like, when you come to a stop at a stop sign, there's a part of the windscreen where the sign's supposed to be, which is in the right quadrant. None of us do that. We all roll to the stop sign and then roll through it.
But you're aware of that.
Absolutely.
So in a driving test, you wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that on a driving test. It's the same as turning right on a red. You do actually have to stop.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
I'm carrying. There's 5 or 6 things we all do, most of us do every day, that if we were being examined, that would be a fail.
Right. Here's another one. A lot of, you talk about Ontario and Toronto. So many of the intersections now are huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 2 lanes, left lane. Changing lanes in an intersection is a big no-no.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't know. Like, I know that one, but a lot of people don't. Like, here in Brampton, are you kidding me? People changing lanes right in the middle of these huge intersections, and that's so dangerous, but it happens all the time.
I still can't believe that Canada hasn't adopted large roundabouts. I mean, the roundabout is just the most killer way to keep traffic moving. It's safe. Any accident that would ever occur at a roundabout is of the fender bender nature.
Yeah, because you're going so slow.
Because you're going so slow.
I think I found
They're adopting more of them here, though.
Yes, I was
in the
say
rural
that.
areas, though.
Just
in
that.
The rural areas.
I was in Niagara-on-the-Lake on the weekend, and there were several of them. In fact, I'm going to say that, Freddie. I find them more in smaller communities.
Yeah. Our friend Darren, we were in Rome once, and he ran across one of the huge ones in the middle of Rome. It's ridiculous, but he did it.
Well, yeah.
He did it as a challenge. It was crazy.
You mean the guy who makes this noise? Yeah, that doesn't track at all. I'm sure I've told you guys. I'm sure I've told you both this separately, or over the years that I took. When I moved to LA, I took the road test. I had to go to the DMV. I did the written exam, whatever it was. Then I go to the road test. And so the guy gets in the car, does the road test thing, and we're driving around. We're sort of going around the neighborhood. I'm going, just typical for a few minutes. And I say, at some point I go, so are we going on the freeway? He looks at me, he goes, we're not going on the freeway. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? So he said, we don't do it. So LA, which is nothing but freeways, the drivers are so afraid of people killing them that they do the driver's test doesn't include the freeway, which I thought was
Well, wait a minute. Is it that reason, or the fact that once you get on the freeway, you're stopped?
No, it's about you're stuck there. The exams take 3 hours. But I said, so we're going to the freeway? He goes, no, we don't do freeways. Oh, really? I don't, and for most, like Jeff and I have moved, I don't know how many provinces you lived in, but we've a bunch of them. And
almost all of them.
Yeah, I'm like half of them. And, you always have to go and get your license redone. But I don't think when I moved to Quebec, I had to take a test. The last road test I took was years ago. And I'm like you. I think I could probably, if I was, minding all the rules, probably pass it. But I don't think I could. I was going to say, I don't think I could pass it if somebody was there secretly watching me drive.
Well, I'm only 11 years away from my next one. Believe
your
it or
next
not.
test?
Yeah, because you got to have one at 80, right?
Oh, wow.
That's only 11 years for me.
Holy crap! Yeah, it's
Isn't that? Yeah, holy crap.
But isn't it kind of neat that? I mean, we moved here and we just exchanged. Boom, boom. No test. It was nice.
Well, and compared to all the other red tape and bureaucracy, that must have been refreshing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess tender mercies, huh? Yeah, we should really, add that to one of our blessings.
You see, we're all blessed, and what wonderful times of the year for blessings.
And speaking of which, what is the Christmas vibe in France? Different than Canada? Similar to Canada?
I think it's a little more pronounced in that every little village has Christmas markets, and they stagger them. Some of them are on similar to the night markets that you have in the summertime, right. And then there are bigger ones that just go for 2 or 3 weeks ahead of Christmas. But yeah, like they pop up these skating rinks like with artificial ice, and no, they really do a number. We had fireworks the other night at another right. At a nearby one. I think people, but what's not? It's not as commercial. Like in other words, there's not this need to go buy 8,000 gifts. It's less commercial, but more fun.
And those markets, I'm sure, are unlike the distillery district now, where I think it costs like $40 just to walk into the market or something. Now it's just become.
Oh, you're kidding me!
Yeah, they charge you. Yeah, they charge you to go in.
They charge you to go in now. It's like crazy. But hey, what about traditional Christmas songs? Do you hear the tune, but they're sung in French? Do you get that kind of thing? Is that the deal, or?
I think no. I don't really know the answer to that. There are probably quite a few French songs. French Christmas songs that we would never have heard of that they play on the radio here. And we actually get that a lot. It's actually very seldom that we'll go, though, to a store and hear all French. You're often hearing English music. And right. Sometimes it's rap music, and they are just swearing. and nobody knows, and no one knows. It's just, but we will hear it.
You're walking around going, I don't think the N-word is appropriate for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm speaking of Christmas. I was going to say, what about greetings? I don't know when it was that people stopped saying Merry Christmas to me. In fact, the whole sort of woke vibe. I remember I've actually had people say this to me, not so much recently, but when this started a few years ago, they'd say, hey, Merry Christmas. Ooh, is that okay? Because I'm Jewish. I'm like, well, it's not like I'm going to melt if you say Christmas to me. But so because now it's ubiquitous, it's happy holidays. Is that what people say where you are?
They say Joyeux Noël. They say Merry Christmas here.
And is there a French tradition of Papa Christmas or Father Christmas, Noel, Papa, whatever?
Père Noël.
Père Noël.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He comes down the chimney with a baguette and
and a mustache and no cap,
smoke,
but he's got
smoking.
He's got the beret. He's got the beret.
He gives all the children smokes.
Yeah.
No. So what's the truth in that? What does he look like? Traditional Santa Claus, Jeff, or is it a different look?
Yeah, just not as fat, or sorry.
Oh no, because they're much healthier over there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there are way fewer obese people here. I mean, that's you guys have both been to France, right? I mean, there's hardly anybody fat.
Well, I know
it's unbelievable. They eat bread like it's going out of style, and
the greatest bread in the world,
and they're skinny as rails. I don't get it. No, it's the same thing. Like he came out at the Tremont Christmas market here, and he comes out on his little tractor sleigh, and the kids are all there, and yeah, it's the same thing, same deal.
Again, not to take this somewhere it shouldn't go, but it just makes me, when you talk about people in France eating all kinds of bread and drinking wine, which is sugar, and being
and butter and oils.
And you just have to wonder, what are their rules on additives? Because over here, that's probably the big problem.
We had an episode dedicated to a lot of this stuff, and one of them was just the something silly like Heinz ketchup. So still Heinz ketchup. Mm-hmm. Canada and France had 4 ingredients. The United States, sit down, put your glasses on. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And I mean, all of these, they restrict the Doritos. They don't have the same color as the North American Doritos here in France, because it's the coloring that has a bulk of the additives assigned to it. Yeah. So, no, they're very strict on additives here. Baguette has 3 ingredients: salt, water, and
flour,
yeast.
But have you found in the years that you've lived there now, in the 3 or 4 years, that you have lost some of that, whatever we all have, which is a hankering for, the MSG-laden foods? Have you found yourself, your diet's changed over time?
Oh, I never really had that. I mean, yeah, if weren't
going to Burger King. I know that.
What's that?
You weren't going to Burger King here, so you're not going there.
No. Like if there's a bowl of Doritos, I mean, or salt and vinegar chips, that's my heroin. I can't not eat that.
Yeah.
But we avoid buying it, and then I'm okay. But I mean, if I go to someone's place and they got chips out, it's a Dan Duran. I'm just full
That's
on.
Right.
There's none left for anyone.
Dan Duran. For people who don't know, Dan, when Dan centers on a food that he likes, you have to watch out, because there's not going to be much left. Dan Duran, the shrimp ring. Hey, before we let you go, so. What will Jeff and Julie, and by the way, the podcast is Jeff and Julie Move to France, Global Pandemic, comes out every Friday on the Humble and Fred Network. What will you two do what does your Christmas there look like?
Well, there was this restaurant that we used to go to on Christmas Day, but we booked too late this year, so we're not going to be doing that. But we found another restaurant that was open Christmas Eve, so we're going to that instead. And then we'll put in a chicken or something and roast a chicken and just kind of hang out. But we have some friends coming over for my birthday the following day, and
right, you're a Boxing Day boy.
That's right.
Or a Christmas Day.
Jeff, no, Boxing Day. Jeff and our good friend Danny Kingsbury. And for the last, this will be
born the same day,
which is crazy. And I think this is the 3rd year or 4th year that I have organized a friends Zoom with the 4 of us: Danny, Fred, Danny, Dan, and Jeff and I. All four of us work together in Moose Jaw. Imagine that. All 4 of us have known each other. Well, I've known you guys since 1978. You guys knew each other before that.
Yeah, so we were all there at the same, or were we not? Were you gone, Howard, before? No, I think we were there at the same time, but
Danny wasn't there at the same time you were. Danny and I were there together. Danny and Dan and I were there together, and you and I were there, I think, just shortly before I left to Vancouver.
Oh, they had left. Well, no, I worked with Dan. But so it's just Danny that was gone before I got there.
Yeah, but that goes back a long way.
Jeff, you mentioned you would have a chicken. Do they not do the turkey thing over there, or?
Well, a turkey for 2 people is kind of.
Yeah, that's why restaurants don't do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, because and really, isn't it also that turkey's overrated and no one really likes it, and it's just sort of a boring, bland meat? That's what I think.
If it gets dry, I mean,
That's
I'd
the
rather
worst.
eat shoe
It really is.
leather at that point, you know.
And very exciting. It's Jeff and I have we're going to make an announcement that Jeff and Julie, who moved to France and are going to be joining me. I'm going to be in Spain for a couple of weeks in February, and I'm going to hang out with Jeff and his lovely bride, Julie. And I got a great note this morning because Julie's already on some we're organizing a day trip to go see some cool shit. And
what did you think of that?
I loved it. I sent you a note back saying I'm all in. Let's do it.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll go. What is it? We're going to go see the Rock of Gibraltar.
Yeah, we're going to go see the Rock of Gibraltar.
Wow, I'd love that.
So we're where Howard's staying is about an hour away from the Rock of Gibraltar, which is interesting because even though it's along that same Iberian coast there, it's not part of Spain. We're just learning that it's still British rule, and you got to pass a little checkpoint there with your passport and all that kind of thing. So I don't know. But yeah, it's got a ton of restaurants. It's got a national park associated to it. All kinds of stuff to do. Oh, it's got World War II tunnels.
That's right. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there by myself with Jeff and Julie. I'll be like their kid going, I'm hungry. Can we stop for food now, please?
Yeah.
I have to
that'll
pee.
Be great.
Yeah.
Has everyone peed?
Has everyone peed? Listen, Jeff and Julie moved to France in a global pandemic. Comes out the next episode this Friday. And because this will be our last visit with you before the new year, happy Christmas. All the best to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
And
Joyeux Noël.
And I will
enjoy the season.
And I'll talk to you this weekend, and we'll set up our annual Moose Jaw Boys call. Thanks, Jeff and Julie. Moved to France.
Hey guys, cheers.
Right, cheers.
Bye-bye.
The mood is right.
You know, it's before you go. It's that little sound at the beginning of this song. One of my radio friends, Colleen Rushram, had a great bit for this. She said, when that beginning sounds like it's the A&W root beer. Boop, boop. All right, Jeffy. Talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.
The party's on. The feeling's here. That only
You know, McCartney wrote this when he got one of the, it's almost like somebody sent him one of these little Casio synthesizers. He's like, I can write it. He's like, I can write a song on anything.
having a wonderful Christmas time.
You hear that? Bum, bum, bum.
Children sing their song.
Bum, bum. Freddie, what do you want to tell us about? What's on your mind right now as far as the people that support this wonderful program?
Well, tomorrow we will have a visit from the retirement Sherpa. Tim Niblett is a portfolio manager. Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. And he will, tomorrow he'll touch on, are we taking care of our loved ones financially? There's so many aspects to that, as you can understand. We're going to be spending time with the people we love over the next little while and, just have a look, have a thought. Are we doing for them what we should? And Tim will talk about that. And remember, the standing offer, if you have a portfolio and want someone to have a second look, Tim or Jay will do that, give you an assessment, and let you know what they think, and you can take it from there. No strings attached, no obligation. Retirement Sherpa, retirementsherpa.ca.
A wonderful Christmas time. We simply have.
And maybe you talk to the Retirement Sherpa about this mining company that supports the Humble and Fred show. We're talking about, of course, Boron 1. We've talked about all the common items, the nature of boron in so many parts of our everyday life. Glass production, insulation, fertilizer, silicon, metallurgy, LCD screens, on and on and on. So wouldn't you like to be part of a company that maybe, and again, it's all speculation. That's what these stocks are. But this company has done what very few junior mining companies have done, which is, get to a point where they're going to be taking boron out of the ground sometime in the next couple of years, and this stock will not be 5 cents forever. Anyway, we make no guarantees. We have nothing to pass on when it comes to financial acumen, other than this is a company that we're interested in. Maybe it's something you might be too. Boron 1 is the company. Boron1.com is the website. I did not watch the Monday night game last night. I was on full diarrhea dog duty, and I just forgot all about it. Who was playing? Who won? What happened? Anything good?
There were a couple of games I didn't watch them. It was the Bears in Minnesota. Minnesota won, and it was the Raiders and somebody, and the Raiders lost as usual. I forget. Oh, Atlanta beat the Raiders. Last night, I got my list of things we were talking about over the past couple of times and started watching Perfect Couples. Ugh, don't like it. Found it cheesy. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah. How did you know what? How, did you bail on it?
Yeah, when I bailed on it, I sat there. Delise was mildly interested. I drifted in and out of sleep. And then there was a scene where his brother, the asshole, come out with the wedding cake and started eating it. And I thought that scene is just so stupid. It would never happen.
I agree.
So I was out. I said, Doll, I can't take this anymore. I'm done. I'm not watching this anymore.
But here's what kept me, because I thought a lot of it was cheesy. I thought some of the, what do I know about acting? But I thought some of the acting by some of the girlfriend whose friend died, I thought it was kind of cheesy. But what kept me interested is the sort of whodunit part of it.
Yeah.
And the people I did like in it was Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman. I thought they were great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But did you not want to check out Black Doves? Because I would have watched that first.
I've watched one episode of that. I just thought I watched one episode of that, and then rather than watching sports down here, I thought I'd go up and sit with my wife and watch something. So I had already gotten into Black Dove, so I thought we'll do this Perfect Couple thing. But again, by the time I saw the cake scene, I don't care who did it, honestly.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, I was, because the reason I asked if you bailed, because there was a point early in the thing, and I thought, I'm not going to, this isn't for me. Other than the fact I really like Liev Schreiber, and he's so good, and he smokes a joint in almost every scene in this thing.
I know.
But it got better, but because I was trying to connect the dots to it, whatever. You're trying to figure it out.
Right, I get that.
So that kept me interested.
What I watched on the weekend, and I know this is a 2019 movie, but it was what was Joker? Holy...
I know. That's crazy.
Oh, man. Because, I'm not usually into that stuff, and then I watched Penguin and enjoyed it so much, and I'm sitting here and I thought, whoa, why don't I watch Joker? What was that?
That's crazy shit, isn't it?
Oh wow. Did he not win the Oscar for that?
I don't know. Maybe.
That was amazing. That performance. Wow.
So I have a movie rec. I didn't realize we were going to do this now, but I have a movie I watched on Netflix, and it's kind of in the Die Hard mode. It's crazy spy shit happening or criminal stuff happening at an airport at Christmas, and it's called Carry On, and it's with
right, I saw
Jason
that.
Bateman.
Right,
so good in this movie.
Okay,
the movie's
good.
Again, it's not hard. It's not much to figure out, and it's pretty cool. And basically, but Bateman's great in it, and it's like a Die Hard, some crazy shit going down at an airport with these terrorists and a bomb and all that stuff. And if you like that kind of movie, and again, it's I don't know, they called it the Die Hard for 2024, but it's I think it's a good little movie. You'd like it.
Delise will like that too, because her favorite podcast features three friends, right? That sort of hang out together on the podcast and have fun with each other and insult each other and horse around.
Oh, she likes that, does she?
And then she interviews, and then the odd interview, the interviews they do. She really likes it. Jason, hands down her favorite. And Jason's part of that, so I'm sure she'll want to watch.
So she likes that type of podcast as long as you're not doing it.
Yes.
No, but you'd like this. I think it's easy to understand. And the guy it's Jason Bateman and this other guy that he played Elton John. He was in The Gentleman. He's a good actor. His accent's kind of weird. He's an English actor, but he's putting on an American accent. Anyway.
You mentioned Elton John. Speaking of which, I told you yesterday when we were talking about Toronto radio, I've been listening to this Zoomer radio for old people.
Yes.
And they keep running this spot for a concert over Christmas featuring Elton Ron, the music of Elton John.
Elton Ron.
Guy's name Elton Ron.
I love that.
And I said, I bet you that guy's good. You know what I mean? Because they've bought time and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's how he's Elton Ron.
So on your recommend, because you had mentioned that you had been corresponding with Andy Wilson, it was an intern of ours, became a producer of a show or two that I was hosting, a guy that we've known. And I was intrigued when you said because Jane
Brown.
Jane Brown has been at that radio station for a long time.
Downtown Jane Brown.
Downtown Jane, who, when we first started doing this show, she would have been on Q107, I'm thinking.
Yes, probably, yes.
And a great broadcaster. Jane has always been very, very good. And such a beautiful sort of one of those radio people that just has such a good vibe to her. It reminds me a lot of Maura Gerson. So and you were talking about Andy's now hosting the show, and I was like, oh, really? Because Andy was always like the second or third or fourth guy on a show, and I thought, what does Andy Wilson sound like hosting a show? And you know what? I went and watched some of their videos. He's very, very good. He's very comfortable. He's been doing it a long time. I mean, he's been around he's been around morning shows a long time, and you can just see. I could just feel how comfortable he is doing it, and I can't wait to see him on Sunday and tell him that, because, I don't want to say like, oh, I'm surprised. I just haven't really thought about. A lot of we've worked with a lot of people, and I don't think about them every day. But when you mentioned Andy yesterday, I thought, I should check him out, and it was very, very good.
Yeah, Friday morning, put it on. Because we don't work Fridays, right?
We don't. Well, then what am I doing down here talking to myself? No, he's very, very good. But so that's Zoomer 740. That's another Humble and Fred recommendation. Okay. We've got Brad Jones standing by in a minute or two. Why don't we, since we've got time, do you want to talk about Bodog, or do you want Bodog? How about this? How about I let Bodog talk about them own selves first, and then you can pick it up.
Feeling caught in a neutral zone? When things start to go offside, you know it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Check out the latest sports odds and get free tips to help you score this hockey season. Visit Bodog.net today. #Make a play.
Our inclination is to give NFL odds all the time, NHL, NBA sometimes, but with the U.S. college bowl season upon us, hey, Bodog's are a destination for wagering on those games as well. The NCAA playoffs right up to the championship there in early January. Whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment. From their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994.
To the surprise of no one, I'm sure, the most streamed Christmas song year after year, and apparently again this year, with 2 billion streams. And again, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember if that's all time or just this year, but it's Mariah Carey.
Yeah. What is the song again?
I was hoping you'd know.
Are you going to be... yeah, I don't know. Hey, here's a little... you talk about ODing on Christmas. Since the U.S. election, not only have I cut out a lot of news other than just local news and then getting my national or federal or international news through local news, I've been listening to a lot of jazz now on... because Delise gravitated to it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice vibe. It's very chill.
Oh, there's a channel on... Sirius called Watercolors, and
nice.
it's just jazz the way I like it. And it's not wall-to-wall Christmas, but maybe every 5 or 6 during the season they'll play a Christmas song, but in jazz, and it's a nice way to receive it because it's not the same old shit you've heard before. In fact, you sit there and go, oh, I know this song. But it's the jazz version, which makes it more palatable.
And it's called Watercolors? I'm going to check that out.
66, brother.
Here's the song everyone knows. Yeah, I don't have it here how many times. It doesn't show the number of streams, but it's just... Yeah, I like a little soft jazz, a little sort of, Steely Dan adjacent jazz when I'm hanging out in the afternoon, early evening. It's a nice Or sometimes I'll put Coffee House on. I don't mind that.
I find it therapeutic because again, it was so, and again, I admit it. It was a very anxious time around that election and very disappointing.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And I was agitated by a lot of stuff. I've found this jazz thing to be very therapeutic because even listening to other music like the Spectrum or
Lithium.
Yeah, it's like a bit strident and a bit edgy, and it's like I don't even want that. And I found the jazz to be just nice over the past few weeks.
Yeah, I listened. I'm the same. Basically since November 5th, I pretty much stopped with CNN and Fox and obsessing over it every day. In fact, yesterday when I took Stan out alone because the other one was diarrhea, I took Stan out for his walk, and it was the first time in a few weeks that I had listened to Oberman. And I found myself, and it was only about 45 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it was. And I found myself, when I came in, I was like, oh, yeah, I just found myself feeling all those feelings again and being a bit agitated. And, I don't need it. Don't need it in my life right now.
And I'm sad, too, about Bill Maher because, you get like Zuckerberg and Bezos and all these billionaires that have, the run up to the election to cover their own ass. They overlooked their established principles. You knew principles they had prior to that just to suck up to Trump to, protect their empires. And I really got a feeling with Bill Maher, too, like just before the election and just after. Part of him's thinking, well, I don't want Trump coming after me. And I'm very disappointed in that with him.
How does that manifest itself? I haven't watched Maher in a while.
Just some of the stuff he says and how he's tampered his position on a few things. And it's like, oh, really, Bill? Like, you too? You know who hasn't backed down, though? And I haven't seen a lot, is Kimmel. Kimmel hasn't backed down at all. No. But it's funny, I was
going to say, I think Kimmel, who is sort of rumored, like Kimmel's been doing it 20 years now, which I find crazy. But there's sort of rumors of him kind of starting to pull back a little bit. But I think he'll stay on for the 4 years of the Trump presidency just because it means so much to him. Like I think you had the story about him crying the night of the election, or like he broke down.
The day after, yeah.
So it means a lot to him.
Yeah, it does. And people may listen and go, oh, my God, like you have to listen to jazz and not listen to this and that because you were so upset over the election. Yeah, sorry, that's my position, And again, it gets back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. If you can sit back and listen to Trump degrade this country and find that acceptable, you're the fucking idiot, not me. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I've expressed similar feelings that, like we talked about Trump on the show today as it relates to our country. And we talked about Canadian politics and Trump as it relates to that. But we haven't spent much time since November 5th. And by the way, it's not like we had a meeting. It's not like Fred and I went, okay, as of now. It's just both of us were it was just enough. And, it doesn't put you in a great place day to day to day.
No.
To be. And, I'm as guilty as you are. Because I know when you and I would talk away from recording, Trump was a big part of it. We were always talking about, did you see this? Did you hear about that? I just choose not to right now, and it does put you in a different place.
Yeah, well, it's done. There's nothing we can do about it. So, a lot of it was anxiety brought on by the suspense of it all, and it's over. They made their choice. Super. Great.
I'm just looking for Dan, and I'm also looking for Brad Jones. We're supposed to have Brad on this morning.
Right.
While we're waiting, though, I thought I had a cute little anecdote for you. There's there's different types of yoga classes that I go to. Some of them are pretty chill, and it kind of goes slowly. And some of them are like high intensity. And I went to a high intensity. They're called flow classes. And when I tell you,
nice. Wow,
like it's high intensity. They're just like you're just doing lots of push-ups, and it's on and on and on and on. Anyway, I was in and there's a bunch. You sort of see the same dudes there, and some younger guys, some guys my age. But there's this kid that I saw Sunday. We were talking about. He's a Bills fan, so it's kind of funny. Like here we are. It's like we come out of yoga, like we've just come out of a hockey practice, and we're talking. And every time he sees me, because I know he knows I like the Bills, so it was funny. I came out of it yesterday, just drenched, like sweating. And the first thing he says is, "Hey, how about that game?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, that was something else." And I was like, it's kind of a cute little moment where. And, it's like we talked about the game, and then, we talked about the chances of, where they're going to go. And one of the things he said that you had mentioned, as great as the last two games have been, allowing 40 points, having your defense allow 40 points 2 games in a row, not a great sign.
No.
When it comes to playoffs and the Super Bowl, where you want to, keep your scoring down against you to a minimum.
But just think about it. They beat, hands down, the best team in the AFC, Kansas City, this year, and beat, hands down, the best team in the NFC. Well, I shouldn't say hands down, best team in the NFC, team with the best record. So, I mean, you can't beat any better than what they've beat so far this year.
No, exactly. Okay, there's Brad. Oh, I got him. Okay, so Brad Jones, Dan Duran, I asked you to come back a little earlier, but there's Brad. Let me get some music. I'm going to put Dan in here. Well, let's have, maybe Dan's got some questions. Dan's father was a Lutheran minister. Dan grew up around the church and death. And Dan, before we introduce Brad, Dan grew up around death? Brad, do you know that's Dan Duran right next to you there in the...
I do, yes.
I mean, normally
it has my name on the bottom of the screen, so that's helpful.
Brad, normally we don't break. Normally, Brad, we don't break out the celebrities when you're on because you're the celebrity. We got Dan Duran. Brad Jones is with us from Ridley Funeral Home, and Dan, did you do any altar boying, whatever people do at a funeral? Did you do that?
Not at the funerals, no. My dad, conducted quite a number of funerals. At church on Sundays, I'd light the candles on the altar.
All right.
So that's every once in a while. But no, I didn't attend third-party funerals.
Did you ever set your hair on fire or anything?
Yeah. No, I was all pretty good with that.
Okay.
Well, let's officially welcome the funeral director at Ridley Funeral Home, Brad Jones. His podcast is called Life's Undertaking. And recently, you had a guest on, very interesting, author of Always a Sibling, The Forgotten Mourner's Guide to Grief, Annie Sclaver-Orenstein. That podcast is up and out, but tell us a little bit about that, Brad.
Yeah, it was informative because it's one of the things that doesn't get covered very often. Your spouse dies, your parent dies, and that's where all the focus is. That's where all the friends are coming. But, so often it's a sibling's, brother or sister that's died. And they actually almost put on a different hat. It's almost like I call our funeral director hat. Like when my father-in-law died, you just throw the next hat on and you just go back to work. And it's typically the person that comes in and is organizing everything with the family because everyone thinks, they're just a step away from the grief. But, that was their first friend as they were growing up. It was their, the person that used to pick on them, bully them, wrestle with them, fight with them. But they were the first one that would defend them and, not let someone else bully them or, pick on them. So it was a great conversation. And it's almost like a forgotten grief. And it's one of those griefs that they almost put aside for the first week or two after a death. And then after all the support systems are gone, they're on their own to try and, figure out the way to go.
And what is the recommendation to figure out what to do? I know that's a pretty wide question, but...
I think the biggest thing was finding ways to memorialize them, remember them, and celebrate them. And I think whenever a death has happened, it's one of those things that we always say, say their name, talk about them, even though they're dead, they're still a part of your life. They shaped you, they helped you. And so unfortunately, so many of our friends, when we've had a death, they'll come to the funeral, they'll talk about your loss of then, but 2 weeks or a month from now, a lot of people don't want to bring up their name because they don't want to upset you, and sometimes that upsets people even more.
Are you talking untimely here generally, or does it the same apply to, we're all getting to the point where we could have siblings actually die of natural causes from old age? Same thing?
It is the same thing. It's completely an unforgotten role that people forget all about.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think you see it a lot more in untimely deaths.
Well, but I mean, the book is called Always a Sibling, The Forgotten Mourner's Guide to Grief. And somehow or another, you're saying, and maybe the book is talking about how grieving for a sibling has a different feel than grieving for a parent because of that. Maybe because it might be more likely to be an untimely death.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, she wrote it from an untimely death. Her brother was killed in Afghanistan. He was a soldier. So I think for her, it was definitely from that. But in her discussions with people and interviewed all kinds of different people that have gone through this, and there was lots of different, situations where it was untimely death. It was a young death. And even there were some that were in older in age. I think it's the same thing, people just don't really think too much that it's your sister or your brother that died. It's not as doesn't seem to be as big.
It's
of a
not
deal
as common.
Yeah, well, it's common, but it's not as seems to be a big of a deal as it's your it's your mom or it's your dad or it's your child.
Getting back to what you said, I want to pick up about, and this would apply, I think, to grieving in general, is whether it's, so when it first happens, it's on people's minds, but a month or two later, maybe they are afraid to talk about whether it's your sibling or your parent or whoever. And what I liked what you said about a simple gesture can be to say their name, to be unafraid to broach the conversation.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to do, right? If you bring it up to them, yeah, they might have tears. They might be a little, upset about, the death, but they're not upset that you brought the name up. We had our Holidays and Hope service a couple of weeks, and our speaker, Dr. Bill Webster, he was telling a story about one of his friends. Her husband had died. So, the family decided that, nobody should bring up Grandpa's name at Christmas dinner because, we don't want to upset Grandma. And, people talked and they went about a bunch of things. And then it was like about halfway through the dinner, she said, damn it, like, say his name. Like, we're all missing him. And she was more upset that nobody would talk about it than that, people would bring up his name and, she might have cried.
My mother-in-law right now, her biggest problem is loneliness. All of a sudden, she lived with this man for years. Now she's all alone. And the thing is, what I've noticed, she can still be in a room full of people, but still feel lonely, and because of that. And that's right. Don't hesitate to talk, and good stories. And remember when Papa did this? Remember when that? It's probably the best therapy.
Well, and I think what Brad's saying too, the reticence in people, Brad, is because we're afraid. We become afraid of, having people giving a holding space. Sorry for being too, but that's what what it is. You're holding a space for somebody to express something emotionally, and a lot of us are afraid of that.
Yeah, I think most of our wives would say we're all afraid of emotions.
That's right.
I second that emotion.
That's right. Except unless that emotion is outrage. We're very comfortable with that. Outrage and anger. We're very comfortable with that. And you see it in everyone's lives. And yet, what a great gift to someone to help them and to be there for them when they are remembering somebody that just passed on.
Yeah, I think the evening times, the night times are the hardest for a lot of people, right? You're busy during the day. There's all kinds of activities, but it's, that 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night where, the house is empty, you're on your own, right, and you're stuck with your thoughts. And that's probably the best time to pick up the phone and give somebody who's alone a call.
So, Brad, your function at Ridley Funeral Home, you do a podcast like this, you get this information, you get this opinion. Do you now apply it, like when you're talking to people, initial meetings and stuff? If you met someone who had lost a brother or sister, you can actually console them or talk to them about these things? Yeah,
and I think just give them information, right? Like educate people. That's a great thing about podcasts is you get to educate people. You get to, share knowledge, share information, and, share stories. So it's a great way to do it.
Well, that's what people say about our podcast, Brad. People say, I had no idea that farts were so fascinating.
It's true. It's so true. But yeah, I think when you're sitting with a family, I think having this knowledge, it helps you, share those experiences with people and, give them information.
Well, that's very good.
Very, very interesting.
The podcast is called Life's Undertaking. And we appreciate you being here. The book Brad's talking about is called The Forgotten Mourner's Guide to Grief. And it's always a fascinating conversation with you. And we wish you the best. Happy, Merry Christmas to you and your family. I know you're probably busy. I'm not sure if you were given a formal invitation by Boone, but if you're in the Burlington, Kelsey's area on Sunday, we'd love to have you drop by and hang out with us. But if not, we'll say see you next year. We'll be off for a while and look forward to catching up again. Thanks, Brad.
All right. Thanks very much, guys.
Okay, Brad, take it easy, pal.
All right, man. Take care. There's Brad Jones.
You ain't running game. Say my name. You acting kinda shady. Ain't calling me baby. Why the sudden change? Say my name.
Why, look, here's Dan Duran, everybody. Dan Duran.
Say my name. Say my name. You acting kinda shady. Say my name. I will call, you would say, baby, how's your day? But today, it ain't the same. Every other
Well, Dan, how are you? Are you all right?
Could it be that you are at the crib?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Discussions like that always, not trigger, but, you start thinking about people you've lost in your life. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot. You lost a sibling, and yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And it was at a very young age, and
Yeah, she was 21. She was hit by a drunk driver, and it was a huge deal in our family.
I guess
it affected my mom more than any one of us, and she was really just a mess for a couple of years there. But
that's a lot of years to live without someone who should still be alive.
What year was that, Dan?
Yeah,
do you remember?
That was like it was just before I moved out of Vancouver. So it was probably, I think that was in 88, 89, in that area.
Whatever happened to the driver? Like, do you know, or did you guys follow that through, or?
My parents did. What it was, he had stolen a van from, I guess he had a bunch of priors, like a long list of priors. And he got drunk and then stole a van from somebody he was, I guess, employed by as a, personal service worker or something along those lines, and was driving at 6 a.m. and my sister was crossing an intersection and got T-boned by this guy. And you could see why there's a truck was blocking her vision from this van that was flying through the intersection, and he ended up. I think he went to jail for a little while because of his priors on this before this situation, because he didn't have a license at the time. It was suspended for the same thing.
So is he still in jail now?
No, I don't believe so. I think it was a relatively, a year or two or something like that.
Yeah, not in Canada.
Yeah, it was in Alberta. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
That's Canada. Although I know someone who would like it not to be.
Yeah.
So, and because I think the reason I think it was before 89 is because 89 you moved here. You took my call to come be the producer of our show and live on my couch for a couple of months, and
you're best man at your wedding. No, that all happened. Because I was in San Francisco. That was the year that everything.
But I think it happened before. I think it happened before 89. I think it happened when you were still in California for some reason.
No, I was in Vancouver.
Oh, you were in Vancouver already, but that was so you moved back to Vancouver in 89, then to Toronto in the fall of 89. So do you remember how it affected you?
Well, it was like a shock for a long time, and then I just didn't, it was like a whole, the family came together really quickly, and just the whole busyness around all that, and then it was like, in some ways, because I had moved out a few years before that, I felt, I don't know if guilt is the word, but it bothered me that I hadn't, got to know her a little bit better in her adult years. Sure. Because she was all around growing up. She was the youngest in the family. So
I only met her once. I mean, your brother Tom is the sibling that I'm the most familiar with because we hung around, and your dad.
Yeah.
So your dad and your brother, but your mother and sisters, I only met them a few times.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it was Jody, right?
Yep, Jody is. Heidi was my youngest sister. But it was boy, girl, and the three of us, myself, Jody, and Tom, were like a year and a bit apart when they were born, and then my sister was a few years after that. So,
yeah, it's a drag, man.
Yeah.
But I felt when talking to Brad Jones there about sibling grief, one of the things I thought of is I obviously will, you guys will die before me because I'm so much younger. And so, then I'm going to have because you guys are like siblings to me, I'm going to be like having to grieve for you two.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to start now, actually.
Oh, you should.
It's better to grieve before.
Right now I'm grieving for myself. I'll put you guys in my grief plan.
All right.
How old's David?
Yeah, I've thought about that. David is 72. He'll be 73 coming up in June of 2025. Edmonton Steve is 68. He's your age.
No, and my brother's going to be 75 this year. That's old. Is it old nowadays? Yeah. But you know what I'm saying.
Well,
it's like it's the territory where the guy passed. Well, he was 75 as opposed to he was 68. Dan,
I'll ask you the question I asked Fred and Jeff Lumby. Do you think you could pass your driver's exam now?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I'm very confident.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I am. I mean, the rules of the road have changed a little bit since I took but the physical aspect of driving, being able to come to a full and complete stop, all that stuff, watching out for pedestrians crossing and, not moving.
Yeah, but when the rules of the road changed, because when you took your driver's exam, it was with a horse-drawn carriage, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Dan's the reason they put speed bumps in the trailer park, actually. And I think I'm halfway serious there.
Yeah.
Because he used to, every so often, you'd see, boom, that car would whip up there. And I used to say, going a bit fast. And no.
Going 20 instead of 10. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Not as fast as old Mary. Remember old Mary? She used to whip in there. There was this old lady in her 80s, and she'd come flying in there, and you'd call her on it, and she'd get all offended. Oh, memories. Well,
it's funny as you get older how things, impact you differently than, say, maybe when you were younger. And again, I mentioned this morning, if you've been in my neighborhood, right behind this busy street is a pretty quiet, neighborhood, lots of kids and, people. And I've told you the story about walking Stan. And there was one road there where people tend to go a bit quick. And this guy goes whipping by me. And I sort of make him I'm like, hey, slow down. I make that gesture, right? Mm-hmm. This guy, he goes whipping by me, but stops, then backs up, and he goes, what's your problem? I go, well, you're going a little bit fast, weren't you?
Yeah.
Because, I got me and a dog, and it's like 40, and he's like, so I said that to him. Well, my problem is you were going a bit fast for this neighborhood. He goes, yeah, I think you're being a bit dramatic. I go, you're the fucking guy that just backed up a block and a half.
Yeah.
Fucking drama.
How's that for drama, dickhead?
Yeah, still there.
Yeah, you're being a bit dramatic. Oh, really? This from the guy that just backed up a block and a half? Get the fuck out of here. Anyway.
I'm going to tell my mom.
And that was just last week. I've calmed down considerably.
Yeah.
The world in which we live now, where it's just so dog eat dog and... bottom line, and time is of the essence, and traffic is creating more anxiety, and a lot of these delivery guys, are just stressed right to the limit. Got a truck full of shit, and you got to deliver it today. And the reason I mention that is because I'm on a keyhole court, but the odd time the UPS truck or the FedEx, same thing. I have to put my hand up. Guys, slow down a bit, buddy.
Give him a cookie.
It's just a byproduct of it all.
You say give him a cookie. Yeah, give him a cookie. Yeah. That'll do it.
A little seasonal.
Why don't I give him a cannabis cookie and he can be all stoned while he's drunk?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's right, Fred. Okay, Dan Duran, we have to do the news. No, we don't have to. We choose to. It's always a delight. Here's your theme.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
Dan Duran News today brought to you by Stonehooker Beer, the home of Humble and Fred's all-Canadian ale, which will be on sale for the holidays at Kelsey's this Sunday, the 22nd. Now, live from Lisa's Place, here he is, world-renowned anchorman from the movies. It's Daniel J. Giebert Duran III.
Okay, drones are scaring people in the States. One by one, somebody told somebody else, and now everybody's, talking about it. It's really not a problem, but it seems to be a problem. Just in time for it not to matter, an FBI informant pleads guilty to lying about the Bidens taking a big Ukrainian power company bribe, and Canada's inflation rate was only 1.9% in November. But let's talk about pigs. If you fly pigs, they will fart.
Uh-oh.
A KLM flight from Amsterdam to Mexico City had 259 humans on board and 100 pigs in the hold. 6 hours into the flight, the pilot requested to make an unplanned stop for fresh air due to the obnoxious smell being emitted from live pigs. The air was so polluted they had to make a land in Bermuda. The pig farts had turned that, hey, get this, a 787 Dreamliner into a stink liner.
That's very good.
Yeah. Anyway, in Bermuda, the plane landed. The emergency landing had the people were offloaded, the pigs were offloaded, the people were hoteled, the pigs were put in wherever they put pigs in Bermuda. And then 30 hours later, after airing out the plane, they put the people back on and left the pigs there for a cargo flight to take them at a later date.
Is there not a phrase, if pigs could fly? Or isn't that a...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when, I guess when you speculate on something that's, probably unlikely. Yeah, and if pigs could fly, that type of thing. Or the other one, if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm. I do. You know what that means, Dan? Like if your aunt had nuts. But nowadays, your aunt could have nuts, going to transition to, auntie.
Transitioning aunt.
Oh, yes.
It could be some transitioning.
Sometimes jokes no longer apply.
Yeah, like this show. This just no longer applies. Speaking of jokes, Freddie and I were talking about some Netflix shows that we're watching. I mentioned this movie, Carry On. Netflix, now you guys have heard me talk about Nate Bargatze enough that you know who he is because I've talked about him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just did Saturday Night Live again last fall. For the second time, he's doing arenas. He's got another Netflix special coming out on Christmas Day. But that's not the news. The news for Nate Bargatze is this Thursday night. He's got a mainstream network Christmas special. Like a year and a half ago, again, most people listening to this program had never heard of him. And now he's big enough. Forget the fact that he's doing arenas, and this is his fourth or fifth Netflix special. But he's got a CBS special. And the reason I brought that up is I found that fascinating, or interesting, because you don't really hear about comics doing that much anymore. You don't really hear about sort of a variety special or a comedian having a Christmas TV show. Because when we were kids, that's all there was.
Mm-hmm. What would that entail, I wonder?
I don't know.
On CBS with him, obviously content has to be...
Yeah, but his content
kept to a certain standard.
But his content is very PG. That's his whole bit. Is that he is he's super clean. This comic. You guys go and check out some of his specials. But the reason I was of interest, I thought I'd throw it to you guys is because when we were younger, December was filled with Christmas specials. Now the Christmas. It seems that the Christmas output is all Hallmark movies. Mm-hmm. But he's going to have some kind of special on Thursday night. Now, will I watch it? Probably not, because this is Thursday night football game.
Didn't Bob Hope always have one?
Always.
Yeah. Wow, that's how old I am. We are.
Do you think he's going to have like Christmas trees and skaters and?
I don't know.
No.
All I know is his stand-up is so squeaky clean. He's really turned sort of being PG or PG-13 into an industry because, I was reading an article, Julie Fleming sent it this morning, and from the Washington Post talking about his idea is he wants to sort of be the Walmart of comedy, meaning that anybody, not so much the quality, but the fact that anybody can come and see his show. You can go with your grandkids. You can go with your, no one's going to be offended. It's all very folksy, but funny, like very, sort of edgy, folksy.
Well, that was the whole Seinfeld thing, right? He never did.
He never swore, but Seinfeld is not as sort of folksy as Nate is.
Right.
Seinfeld's a little bit too, if I might say, New York centric. Do you know what I mean? Like, listen, Seinfeld was a very popular sitcom, but Seinfeld as an artist, I'm not. He wouldn't appeal to the same crowd as Nate Bargatze.
No, I get it. And Seinfeld was a bit cynical, right? Like,
yeah, edgy and dark and sarcastic and
yeah. I get it.
Anyway, check it out. Nate Bargatze's got a new Netflix special happening on Christmas Day. Dan Duran, will you be joining us again tomorrow?
I think I will.
All right. I know.
The Theatre Guild won't be calling?
No, the big day today, like I explained before. Theatre Guild today. Tomorrow,
all right. Well, we'll let you get out of here because tomorrow Larry Fedoruk will be with us along with Dan Duran and the Retirement Sherpa. It's going to be a fine program. Thanks again to Bradley Jones today, and of course Jeff Lumby. Jeff and Julie moved to France in a global pandemic.
Well, this episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show was brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, and if you want to come to our big show, let us know just so we know how many people are going to show up. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. That Christmas special, our Christmas special, is going to be on Sunday. So Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Check out other podcasts in the Humble and Fred Network. Swing Thoughts, Aging with Energy, and Jeff and Julie moved to France during a global pandemic. From the Jamie Sobel Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran, and remember, enjoy every goddamn day.
On a microphone, bottles and cans, or just clap your hands, or just clap your hands.